Welcome to Talk It Out with Gilbert and Miller. This is the show where you get a chance to hear the hottest topics that's going on in the Black community, the Black church, and we are unfiltered. We are not politically correct. We're talking about what is affecting our community, what is affecting you, what's affecting your children, and what should we do. And so we thank you for joining in, listening. You can always join us with comments, questions. Also, right here under, you see a scan me that can take you to information about where you can find us. Miller, would you like to say anything to our audience?
Well, I would just like to welcome you back once again to Talk It Out with Gilbert and Miller. Listen, we have a hot show, sizzling, lined up for you on today. These are some hot topics, and so it's exciting to be able to share them with you. I want to invite you to please tell your friends, your neighbors about our show and invite them to tune in on Monday nights at 7 p.m. to see us live or listen in at Podbean. We're just so honored to be here with you. You want to go
That's
ahead
right.
and take it away, Miller? I mean,
Yes,
we can
yes,
be calling you
yes.
Miller.
You said
Gilbert?
you said Miller, but Gilbert, yes. We want to start off with one hot topic, one sizzling topic, and that is the church and the community. Are they friends or are they foes? I thought about this because uh, growing up and while in school and seminary, we saw the community and the church. They were together. They were one, and folks lived near the church. The pastor lived in the city or were close to the church or even in the parish, and they felt the same pain. They felt the same struggles, and it wasn't hard. It wasn't much of a distinction between the community and the church. They all had the same goals, it seemed like. We live in a time now where the church almost sometimes seem like visitors to the community. And the youth, children aren't always there. We have in most metropolitan areas churches making a great exodus out of the community to where the living is good, parking is good, where the people are, where you don't have to deal with the hustle and bustle of government in the inner city, and other things that are involved. And then we see how the community doesn't always welcome the church. They have put community organizations either on the same level as the church or even higher. When you look at ANC groups, when you look at civic associations, um, sometimes they only expect the church to open their doors and to do the opening prayer, but not to be in the lead, not to be involved in the goings on in the community. And so I just wanted to open up this discussion about, has the church and the community redefined their relationship? Are they friends or are they foes? What say you, Miller?
Well, I can attest to, first of all, being the pastor's child, us living in the church parsonage when we were in Gaston, Alabama. We lived in the parsonage for 11 years until my father moved to Anniston and pastored there. And I mean, we were like next door. I'm talking, you walk out the door, you're at the church. And so our life was just intertwined literally with that. Whenever the church doors open. Basically, I loved going to church. My brothers and sisters couldn't stand me for that because I mean, if I went, they had to go. But I would go, prayer meeting, all of those. Here's the difference. I think the way that we share the black church and the things that we do at church and what we're involved with our younger generation, that's what makes the difference. I think the narrative and the conversation has to change with that because they see the church as a place, okay, a lot of times as a last minute ditch effort if something bad going on in my life, or they see it as, yeah, I'll come, but they don't see it as a place that's a refuge. For us, when we were growing up, it was a refuge. It was the cornerstone of things that were going on in our community. So it was so very important, not just for our spiritual needs, but also for our social needs, for our educational needs, anything that was going on with advocacy or civil rights, it was addressed at church from the pulpit. And it went from the pulpit to the door. And so, even as a child, we were very aware of what was going on around us. And so, I think within our homes, we have to start with, hey, this is what the platform needs to be. And if you start it at home, then it'll spill over into the community.
So what I'm hearing you say is really just one word, and that's relevance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I believe that I'm hearing if the church became more relevant to the need of the community, and then the community may take more part into the church, and it will infuse themselves together. Um, I would agree with that. I believe that
Mm-hmm.
the church has to be a representation of the community in two ways. It must advocate for the
Mm-hmm.
community, but it also must be able to organize the
Mm-hmm.
community and help them to advocate for themselves. I think the issue becomes with the church that the end result or the only goal sometimes seems like is evangelism,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of building relationships with the community, they almost act or treat the people in their community how the pilgrims, the white pilgrims, treated
Mm-hmm.
the Africans. Came in and to teach them about God, and they already knew God, or came in to tell them that their life isn't right, and to show them a better life. And I think sometimes that we as Christians, when we're in communities, we have to try to get to know the spirit and the people in the community while gingerly maybe evangelizing. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but what I am saying is that we shouldn't just be all about evangelism, because
Yes.
I like to see a sermon more than I like to hear a sermon.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree with you. I agree with you there. I think, Gilbert, though, there are some other things when you said some things about the church and getting out there and the community that we serve. It's a heart thing. When you're placed as a pastor or you're serving somewhere, you have to have a genuine love for those people. You
yeah,
have to have a genuine love for that community that you serve. In the Bible, God tells us that we are to love our neighbors as ourselves. So
yeah,
things that you wouldn't want to happen to you, why would you want them to happen to your community
right.
around you? Yeah, we're in together.
And also the empathy that's involved, of feeling the pain that folks may have um, intentionally, uh,
Mm-hmm.
feeling the pain of a mother having to work a full-time job, come home and have to cook, have to get up, get the kid dressed. And I know some people say, well, that's what everybody has to do. I don't care what but if you are in the inner city, you know that the resources are not the same
Mhm.
than living in the suburbs and and so community. What I feel like should be a lot of empathy and love, but on the other side of that, I think some churches and pastors have said that the church, or they feel like the church can't be seen as a social services entity. You just come, get what you can get, and we don't see you no more until we given something else again, and they feel
Mhm.
like they're being used. So we only see you when we're giving away turkeys. When we only see
Mhm.
you when we are passing groceries, or we only see you when we have something for the children. But you're never giving or putting in. You're never coming to worship. You're never coming and putting your hands to anything. And so a lot of times pastors and churches get turned off
Mhm.
because they feel like they're being used, and they make a decision that we're not a social services entity, that we are a body of Christ, and we want a relationship. We want this to go not just one way but two ways.
Well,
What do you?
Gilbert, for me, I think about Jesus and all the people that he helped when he was doing his ministry. I am so glad he didn't stop to say that, okay, I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to heal you because in turn, I'm expecting you to come and to do something. I think all of it is a part of our faith walk with God. And
Mhm.
when you're called to serve, you're called to serve. That's why it's such a heavy thing to have the call upon your life to serve people, because it doesn't matter if it's those people, the people that's hurting out there in the world. When something's going on, I feel a need to help all, not just
Right.
one. So I'm so glad Jesus didn't take that stand, because if he had, he might not have gone up on that cross for us. Okay, I'm gonna leave it right there.
I'm gonna push back. I'm gonna push back so we can go a little further.
Yes,
So
yes.
he talked. I believe it was a parable of
Mm-hmm.
talents, and
Mm-hmm.
only one came back to say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe this is something Jesus had to feel himself.
Mm-hmm.
Folks being ungrateful,
Mm-hmm.
but I also see Jesus one day feeding the crowd, and the next day he says, I ain't got no food today. I got the word. And they
Yes.
all walked away. And
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, in his frustration, in his hurt,
Mm-hmm.
in his pain, he turns to his
Mm-hmm.
disciples and say, are you also going to walk away? And so
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a
Mm-hmm.
human feeling that and it's if Jesus felt that pain, I think it is
Mm-hmm.
also that we will feel that pain. And I don't know what's the
Well,
right move. Cause one
well,
day he
first,
just said, I ain't feeding y'all today.
yeah, and I understand that. I know that. But what I'm saying is, I think it has to become a thing of responsibility to yourself and to your community. You have to say, hey, even if they don't show, this is the right thing to do. I want to be found on the side of doing right. Now, can we do everything? No, we can't do everything, but we
Yeah.
can do the things that we can do. You talked about empathy, and that's what we're lacking. We don't have that love for our fellow man. We have that love for me and my three. That's
Yeah.
it. And if you
You
ain't
know,
me and mine, you can forget it.
so a lot of churches have decided not to do funerals for community folks that get killed or
Mm,
can't afford funerals. Um, and it's tough because I hear some saying, "Man, they come in, they tear up. We got to have security there. We have, this and
mm-hmm,
that." But it sounds, I
mm-hmm,
understand, but I also don't like the way it sounds.
mm-hmm.
And so
Amen.
that's something that I think every pastor and every church, especially in the inner cities of the country, have to uh,
Mm-hmm.
be mindful of language,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want it to sound like it's us and y'all,
Mm-hmm.
them folks, and all of that. All of that is negative language, and words do matter and mean something. And so we
Yeah.
have to be mindful of our words, and then we have to
Mm-hmm.
be mindful of our motives. And that
Exactly.
leads me to the next question. I hope that is helping somebody to think. But the
Tell you
next,
what, this was a good one, that friends or foe kind of thing. We
yes,
could have made the
yes,
whole show just really just about that. 'Cause I just want to say before we move along, okay, now we have to go back to our civil rights movement. The black church played a crucial role and
yes.
they provided all kind of things. They didn't just come to the community and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. In all ways, whatever ways that needed to be addressed, they address them. It's hard for me to get with you and I'm hungry. Come on now, I
Let
need
me
a piece
tell
of
you. Let me
bread.
tell you.
Yeah.
What you're saying is so important because the black church taught us everything.
Mm-hmm.
Taught us public speaking. Taught us how to not be afraid to speak in or to stand in front of folks. Taught us
Mm-hmm.
how to sing. Taught us how to be appropriate. How to have dinner. How uh, it taught us when to be quiet. You know, a lot of folk didn't have ADHD
Mm-hmm.
back then because you know what? Grandma was grandma would do some things on that on that child that's sitting on
Who's
that
in
pew.
charge of the ADHD?
We used to have a pew where grandma would sit on that aisle seat, and they wouldn't say children, they
Mm-hmm.
say the children would sit,
Mm-hmm.
and she would give them peppermints.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, she would tell them in the car, "Don't let me have to
Hello.
whatever." Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny they didn't have ADHD back then. They
Mm-hmm.
and if they did, it wouldn't take but a few minutes to get them together.
Mm-hmm. To get them
Um,
together.
and so you learned how to sit still. You
Mm-hmm.
learned when it was you had church clothes, you
Mm-hmm.
had work clothes, you had
Mm-hmm.
play clothes, you had
Yes.
you had dress shoes, and
Mm-hmm.
you had tennis shoes or sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you learn how to, we had Sunday school plays.
Mm-hmm.
We had things that gave us culture. You
Mm-hmm.
might learn how to play the drums in church or
Yes.
play the organ or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Those things are missing now
They're missing.
because we haven't done enough to make us important enough to go. I work some for an agency that helps
Mm-hmm.
people with their utilities,
Mm-hmm.
and folks call, and I be wanting to say to them so bad, I know you ain't
Mm-hmm.
no member of a church, because
Mm-hmm.
if you are in the church and you come in every Sunday and you are involved and you know your pastor and your pastor knows you, they ain't gonna let your electric get cut off. They're not
Mm-hmm.
gonna let your gas get cut off. They're not gonna let your water get cut off. And I dare say, if you are tithing, you ain't got to
Mm-hmm.
worry about it getting cut off anyway. But that's
Hello.
another subject.
That's
But
a
I'm
whole nother
saying
subject.
that
Yeah.
um,
Mm-hmm.
the community has not linked or seen the importance of the church
Mm-hmm.
until they need some food, need a funeral, or need some
Mm-hmm.
fun.
Yeah.
And we have to some kind of way break that barrier. And I don't know, Jesus had to deal with it. Even
Mm-hmm.
I'll say one Sunday they had a parade for him. The next Sunday they said crucify.
Crucified.
So
Yeah.
maybe the answer, and I'll let you have the last word on this, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe the answer is just not to be weary and well doing.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and as well as like a lot of us, we send our children to historical, black colleges, all those kind of things. We need to encourage chapel more. Them going to chapel. When I was at Alabama State, and I mean, chapel was the main thing. You went to church. They looked at you like you were a heathen if you didn't
Yeah,
talk about, going to church or to service. And I think we have to really push chapel in our schools. We have to, with our adult children, which can be the most difficult because
yeah,
they couldn't wait to get out of the house so that they didn't have to go to church every Sunday and do all the things. But we have to push it with them. But I think it starts, within the church, but not the church that is preaches to the choir. Okay, that's a whole nother thing. Can you please do a hot topic on that we need to stop just preaching to the choir?
yes, yes, yes,
Because then
yes,
that'll help open up a whole
yes,
lot of doors. Yeah.
yes, yes. Our
All right,
next
you can
topic
move to you
is
go to the next one.
it bounces right off of this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is what's your why?
Mm-hmm.
What's your why?
Mm-hmm.
What's your why? Why do you do what you do?
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing it to get your name called? Are you
Mm.
doing it to see yourself on the program?
Wow. Mm.
Are you doing it because of tradition?
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing it because it's a gap that needs to be filled? Your heart
Mm-hmm.
ain't really in it. But are
Mm-hmm.
you doing it because it's your calling? Are
Mm-hmm.
you doing it because if you don't do it, you won't be able to sleep at night? Um,
Well, yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go. I was thinking about that. I thought as a child, and as a PK kid, we had some funny moments growing up as PK kids because I thought my parents for a long time were the craziest people I ever encountered in my life because they just didn't play, especially in church. And I would one Sunday I got up to sing. I had learned it like the radio.
Right.
I was ready that Sunday. I had moved up to the junior choir, and I was gonna show them I could sing and hit them notes and all of that. And I got up there, and when I got my dad said, "Well, that was nothing." That's what he said to
Mm.
me. I went to the
Wow.
study. He said that was nothing, and he said, "Why did you get up there with all of that? What was that about?" He said, "Because
Mm.
Jesus wasn't in that. He said
Mm.
it was
Hurt your
you."
little
He
feelings,
said
didn't it?
so. Yeah. Oh, listen. Oh Lordy. For a month, he wouldn't let me lead any song. He told them I don't want to lead in any songs because he's missing the point. This is a gift that God gave to her. I was raised to think that singing is my reasonable service because I can just naturally do that. That's my
Mm-hmm.
reasonable service. And so that's something I'm supposed to give back to God. I'm supposed to give back to my community and the world to share that gift. And so
Mm-hmm.
once I learned that we are servant, he had me reading servant leader. Once I figured out I was a servant leader, we're here to serve each other. It changed how I view life and the world. But your why, it can get messed up when you're trying to be a star, or you're trying to get noticed, or you're trying
Yeah.
to get so many likes and all that kind of stuff. You can get lost in the madness because it's madness.
Right. Right. And so I like what you just said because sometimes or most of the time your why does not show the end result.
Mm-hmm.
Right. God shows you the beginning sometimes. Well, let me say it differently. God shows you the beginning and the end, but he don't show
Mm-hmm.
you in the middle,
No.
right? So you think, oh, God gave me this gift. I have a passion for this. I could see myself in this position. I could see myself, oh, this is where I'm gonna be. This is what God give me the vision. But he didn't tell you that while you was going through this, it wasn't gonna be a big paycheck. It wasn't gonna be it wasn't gonna be any resources available except God. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
gonna be a team of people behind you. It was gonna be a folk that pat you on the back, we with you, and then as soon as you take 5 steps, you turn around, they gone. He's not
They
going to
gone.
show you that you're going to look like a failure, that
Mm-hmm.
You're
Oh,
going
you
to be
better say it.
embarrassed. He's not going to show you all that. He shows you
Mm-hmm.
the beginning and the end, and it is your why that keeps you focused. It's your why that keeps you going. It's your why that makes you lose sleep because you feel like you're so close to this that it just
Mm-hmm.
takes one thing for you to go over the top. It's the why that keeps you motivated to
Mm-hmm.
continue to do ministry. Not saying that you ain't gonna have some tears, not saying that you're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
be hurt, not saying that you ain't gonna be mad at God, because there's been plenty of times, can I tell you, Miller,
Hello.
that me and God, that I felt like fighting God.
Hello.
Plenty of times that I wanted to do like Moses and cuss God. It's been plenty of times that I just wanted to give up, and
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have no other, I don't got nothing else. This is it. I'm sold out. I can't go out here and be a mechanic. I can't be a barber. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
a preacher. I don't
Hello.
know what else to do. And so with that, it's only my why, my calling, my the thing that's in me that keeps me pushing and keeps me going is the thing that keeps me focused, uh, that won't allow me to steal no money, won't
Mm-hmm.
allow me to be unintegral, won't allow me to be a womanizer, won't
Mm-hmm.
it's the why
It's a
that
why.
keeps me focused. It's old folk
Mm-hmm.
used to say it's something within that
Within.
holds the reins. It hold like a
Mm-hmm.
horse. You know, the horse has a bit in
Mm-hmm.
his mouth, and the person that holds the
Mm-hmm.
reins, the horse may want to go to the left, and the
Mm-hmm.
person they pull on the rein. The horse may want to go to the right, and they pull on the rein. The horse may want to run faster than they should,
Yes.
and that's that thing within us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm preaching,
You just
but
listen.
it
Yeah,
feels
that's
good
it.
to me right now. It feels
Yeah.
good to
Go ahead. Go ahead.
me.
Go
Go ahead.
ahead. There was. I tell you, I can remember, and you can ask him when you get the opportunity. Your day. I was had been preaching maybe 2 months, and Reverend Doctor Bishop ODH Hines had to preach at the ministers' conference. That was the first time they were at a church. I don't even remember the name of the church where they were at, and I was there. And your dad during that time, he was the president, and he stood up and he asked that question of what is your why. I had never been in a meeting where the preachers were. I had always saw the preachers as being really cordial, and they were talking and having discussions of meaning. And I was sitting there like my mind was just blown. And then he just stood up, with that big presence and that big voice and said, "Why?" And
Yes.
when he said that, everybody just kind of, and for me, as a young preacher, had barely preached my trial sermon. I was like, "Who is this man?" That he's asking why, and everybody has just kind of stopped. But it made me think at that moment, and it stayed with me. Why are you doing what you're doing? I mean,
My
he
Lord.
was. Yeah, I remember it vividly. He had on a
Yeah.
brown looking suit, and I was like, with this. I mean, his voice when he talks,
Yes,
he
yes,
talks,
yeah.
and I said,
And
"Man,
he's instilled that into me. Um, One of the things that I always can remember my father saying is, "Me with God is the majority,"
mm-hmm,
and that has stuck to me.
yeah,
Uh, God and me,
mm-hmm,
we are the majority.
the
Whether
majority,
we're going against the federal government, Donald Trump, whether we're
mm-hmm,
going against the mayor of D.C., whether we're going against politicians, whether we're going against drug dealers, whether we're going against gang members, uh, God and
mm-hmm,
me, we
mm-hmm,
are the majority.
yeah,
And then the other thing that helps me with my why
mm-hmm,
that I was taught that is not about winning. It's about being in the fight.
yes, mm-hmm,
So sometimes
mm-hmm,
we don't get in the fight with God against sin because we don't think we can win.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to get in the fight
In the
with
fight.
him, for him,
Mm-hmm.
to fight sin and Satan. And if we understand our why, it's not necessarily about whether we're going to win, because
Mm-hmm.
God's God's mathematics
Mm-hmm.
is not the same as our mathematics.
Yes. It's,
Sometimes he can subtract, and it looks like to us he's subtracting is going to cause us to lose. You know the story of Gideon.
mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
you got too many. So we look at things from a earthly perspective. Some of them
mm-hmm.
folk at our churches that we begging to stay, that we begging, they over this ministry, or
Mm-hmm.
they doing this and they doing that, we need to let them go.
Let them go. Mm-hmm. Let them go.
We
Let them
God ain't
go.
told us to beg nobody to stay in church.
No, not
And
at
so
all.
my why, it keeps me going, and I know your why keeps you
mm-hmm.
going, because I know dealing with the media ministry that you have,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, sometimes you feel like you're making $1 out of 15 cents.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was today. Looking at things, I'm like, what am I really doing? Am I giving my life away, Jesus? Yes.
Yes, yes,
hmm
yes.
So I can
So
understand that.
I want you all that are listening
hmm
uh, to put your why in the
hmm
chat. If you
hmm
have a why, it could be you're doing it for your children. It could be you're doing it for your family. It could be you've had uh, someone in your family, or a brother or sister were killed, or
hmm
whatever it is. Put your why in the chat so we can see that folks have different reasons that they're committed to the work that are in your hand. And I'll close with this. Um, the work of the church.
hmm
You tell me if you think I'm wrong, Miller.
All right, go ahead.
It ain't ushering.
hmm
It ain't singing in the choir.
Mm-mm.
It ain't playing the drums, playing the keyboard and the organ. That ain't the work of the church.
No.
The work of the church is changing somebody's life, putting
Yes.
your hands to the plow and not looking back. You
hmm
want to say a little bit about that?
Well, and I think a lot of I've had the opportunity to talk to some young preachers that have come out of seminary, fresh out, and they're looking to be pastors at churches. And the thing is that their view, I think, when they're in seminary, I feel that it has to be pastoral care, community outreach. I think it needs to be really developed more, and that they're required to take more courses in that, because a lot of times, they want to know, do I preach the best? Am I dressing well enough that they're gonna select me? Do I have enough, things behind my name where they're gonna select me, Reverend Doctor, Bishop, da da da?
Do I
Will they
have good
select me?
business acumen?
Yeah, all of those things where I will be the selection, when really, if they select you, then what are you going to do in reference to those people that you serve? I remember the pastor in the country that didn't have all those things behind
Right,
his name.
right.
I can remember Reverend Jackson that baptized me at Bethlehem Baptist Church down there in Johns, Alabama. He didn't have all that behind his name, but we could call on our pastor for whatever. I remember my parents being young parents before my dad was over the youth ministry, but I remember before I became a pastor or a
Yeah,
preacher, and food got short or something, you could call on the pastor, and the
right.
pastor would make sure that some groceries got over there to you, your children. He was always in the community. You would see him all the time. He didn't have all those
Listen,
degrees. He
and
was one
sometimes
of the best pastors in the world.
my wife sometimes asks me, "Well, what we gonna do?" And I say, we're gonna trust God. And she said, but
Yes.
what about if this happened? We're gonna trust God. But suppose and we don't have this and this big account and we don't have this, we're gonna trust God. And
Yes.
time after time,
Hmm.
God provides.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. It's funny you said that. My husband and I, Pastor Troy, we were saying the same thing, because it took a big leap of faith. We came here and we were preaching somewhere, and the Lord, it's funny how the Lord moves. It moved in him as well. And he said, what do you feel about us relocating back to DC? Now, this was a major move. This wasn't like this was, selling the house, packing everything up, moving across country, a great expense. And, thinking to yourself, oh, my Lord, have we made the right decision?
Yeah,
What were we thinking? And all this, every single time. Whoever's listening, you better hear me today. God has showed up, and he showed up and showed out in a crazy kind of way. He
that's
always
right.
comes in the way you didn't see it coming. And I think that's because he wants us to remember that it was only because of him. It didn't come from anybody, it was because of him.
That's right. That's right. And
Yeah.
he's always gonna do it in a way that can't nobody else get the credit.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's what I love. I love about it. Are you gonna talk about his voting
Yes.
enough, or you not gonna
Yes.
do that?
My
All
my
righty.
when you talk about the Lord, you just can't stop.
Hello. That stops the whole thing.
My final hot topic is voting enough.
Mm.
Our vice president has a and let me just say, we don't talk about these topics before we come on, so
No.
you get
Mhm.
this right hot the way we
Mhm.
get it. Vice president has we vote, we win, right?
Mhm.
And I said to myself, it sounds good.
Yes.
And yes, if we vote, she'll win, but
Mhm.
will we win? Um, and I am saying that because voting, I believe, is the first part of victory for the
Mhm.
African American community, Black folk, Negroes, color, whatever you want to call us.
Mhm.
Um, Voting, yes, we have to vote, but that's not enough. Is voting enough? No. We have to be organized. We have to have an agenda. We have to fight racism. We have to fight lies. We have to put the truth out. We have a lot of work. This is just the starting point of making sure that uh, African Americans are represented in the White House. But we can't just vote for the president and get the president, and we have to get our local politicians, our state politicians. We have
Mhm.
to have seats at every table. And then
Every
also, you got to think it's so many issues that we need. We need to deal with housing. We need to
Mhm.
deal with health care. We need to do it with food, this apartheid. We need to
Mhm.
deal with economic growth, um, banking. There's so many things that we have to have an impact on. And I'm saying we, the African American community and the Black church. We can't just uh, get who we want in the office and sit back and say, all right, now y'all get to work. Do it. No, we have to stay on top of the politicians to make sure that they're not just comfortable in the seats. We have to stay on top. We need police reform. There's so much that we need. So voting is not enough. We need to vote and keep working.
Keep working. And that's the part I think, Gilbert, that we miss a lot, is that we feel, hey, once we she's in there, hey, she's in there. Our world is going to get better. Where there are so many different intricate parts to our government, that it starts wherever you are. It starts in in your community, starts in that city, that county, in that state. It just builds up to the federal level. So you have to be really informed, involved, in things that are going on where you live. If we could just start where we live and make sure I'm questioning, hey, why did this not go that way? When you were running for office, you said to me that the African American community was important to you. You were going to infuse us with jobs. You were going to do this for education. So, where are those things that you promised me? A lot of times we won't do it. We won't go back and say, hey, you didn't do what you promised.
That's right. We got to hold um, our politicians accountable, and we also got to hold each other accountable.
Yes.
We have to get folks out of the being comfortable. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we used to. Let me be a little transparent.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for a house,
Mm-hmm.
and the house had that I really really liked
Mm-hmm.
had one bedroom. I mean one bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
and so we were saying, it only had one bathroom, but I really love the house. And my wife said, "Hold on, wait. I grew up in the house and there was 12 of us and we only had one bathroom. And now it's just you and me, and we talking about the house only had one bathroom. Um, it is we have gotten so comfortable that we have lost the
Yes.
connection of who we are and who we should be.
Yes.
Um, we are no longer thinking in terms of a community or communal. We're
Mm-hmm.
thinking in terms of being comfortable. And
Being
how
comfortable.
can I be comfortable and
Mm-hmm.
blood is still running down the streets? How
Mm-hmm.
can you be comfortable and kids are still homeless and hungry?
Mm-hmm.
How can we be comfortable and there's still seniors who have to choose between going to the grocery store and going to get prescriptions?
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have to get back to thinking about more than thinking more than just ourselves.
Yes.
As long as I'm good, then that's all that matters. No, we have my father's car had gotten stolen,
Mm-hmm.
and my sister and my children and my
Mm-hmm.
nephew and they all went off. They looking for the people and
Mm-hmm.
found out it was some young teenagers who stole the car. And they wanted to, I mean, they wanted to kill them kids. It was two
Mm-hmm.
boys and two
Mm-hmm.
girls, and they were just joyriding, and my family wanted to kill, and I had to tell them, that's not right. They didn't want to listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
So another person went to him, talked to him, and said, these were 14-year olds, 15-year olds. They didn't
Whoa.
grow up the same way we grew up.
Yeah.
So yes, it was wrong, and yes, everybody was upset. But instead
Wow.
of killing them,
Mm-hmm.
we could have tried to help them. And so uh, I'm just hoping and
Mm-hmm.
praying that we can find a way to understand that. Okay, voting that
Yeah.
sounds it's sexy to vote
Mm-hmm.
VP Harrison, right?
Mm-hmm.
First woman, first black woman,
Mm-hmm.
uh, aka
Mm-hmm.
Howard
Oh,
University.
yeah.
Check all of the black boxes,
All
right?
the black boxes, all of them.
But what are we gonna do afterwards, right? Because and I'm finished, but Obama, you know, he got
Mm-hmm.
in, and so now, we expected stuff, but we were saying, well, he can't do everything. he can't just be black.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all gotta understand, he can't just have a black agenda.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we done had
Not
our
even
black.
a not even a barbecue on the lawn. Okay,
Right, he
go ahead.
couldn't even
Ronald.
wear a
Okay.
brown suit. Right, he wore a
Yeah,
tan suit, and the world went crazy.
they
So
did, didn't they? It was so crazy.
so we kind of
Mm-hmm.
gave him a pass for not just
Mm-hmm.
jumping out there and
Mm-hmm.
having a black agenda.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right now, we can have a Asian agenda. We can
Mm-hmm.
have a Jewish agenda.
Mm-hmm.
We can we can have a who is Russia in war with now? Um,
Well,
Ukraine
my
agenda.
mind went back. My mind went blank. It was like,
No,
oh no, oh
Ukraine.
no. I do
We can
know.
have
I do. I'm just like, what
but
in the
to
world?
say to have a African American agenda is
Mhm.
it's like cussing. And
Yeah.
so I'm expecting not for her
Mm-hmm.
to just come out with it, but for us to understand that voting her in is not enough. Now we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to give her a reason to do for our people by
For our
putting
people. Mm-hmm.
pressure on the world, putting pressure on the United States to
Mm-hmm.
right the wrongs that they, oh, wouldn't it be good if we could get reparations?
I need mine too. Can you
Yep.
write them and tell them I need mine? I need mine today. I want mine today. What do I want? I want it now. Okay, yeah. Okay, so that would be wonderful if we could get that. The thing that once again that we have to remember once she is elected and she's in there, it's not about. I think a lot of people that are looking at this voter process is voting enough. The people that are running for office, to me, it's a thing of what's good for our country, what's good for our life, making the right decision, doing the right thing. And I know some people views can be a little, twisted and what's right and what's wrong. But I think it's the thing about doing the right thing and then realizing even after she's elected, the House and the Senate, they still have to pass laws and bills and things that align with her platform. If we don't have a majority, it still can go the other way.
And let me say something towards that. We can't legislate against racism.
Hmm. No.
I don't care what folks do as legislators. You cannot legislate the heart and the mind of a racist.
No.
That is just in them, and it is the core. It is America's sin. It
Hmm.
was established on hatred and racism. They didn't think that we were full human.
Hmm.
They thought
Hmm.
of us as cattle. Just imagine that. In their
Hmm.
documents that they wrote,
Hmm.
they described us as cattle, as livestock, as the
Hmm.
same way that they looked at dogs, the same way they looked at mules and horses and cows, chickens.
Hmm.
That's what they thought of us. And so
Yeah.
when I say is voting enough, what I am saying is that we got to stand up. The
Hmm.
only way that we got to where we are now is it's not just because of the vote. It was because people like you and I
Hmm.
decided that we were going to stand up
Stand up.
and
Amen.
we were going to fight for our
Hmm.
dignity
Hmm.
as a man, as a woman, and that we were not going to allow them to define who we are, define us, and to treat us any kind of way, but to that we
I
were
agree
going
with you.
to be. And so voting is not enough. I just want to say that we got to vote,
I don't know. It's
but we got to do more than vote. I'm going to turn the rest
yeah.
over. of the program over to you.
Well, I tell you what, these were some important topics, and as you just stated, it's so important as the African American community that after we vote, that we ensure that our needs that they are addressed. That's where we fall short a lot of times. We don't get our needs addressed. And when we were fighting for these people and doing all the things we were doing to get them into office, you need to make sure that our needs are addressed once they are elected and they are in these offices. The voting is just step one. And then we
That's
have
right.
to, do things after that policy and, our grassroots efforts and holding people accountable. So I'll move on to our hot topics now, but that was so good today. These were three
Thank
very,
you.
very good topics on today that I feel we needed to take the time and discuss. Well, today I'm highlighting some organizations that really are, these organizations highlight the rich intersection of cultural heritage and worship in the Black church, aligning perfectly with the theme of reviving roots, the role of heritage in modern worship. So, the National Black Church Initiative, NBCI, it's a coalition of 150,000 African American and Latino churches working to strengthen family and community structures. I know we have ours too. They focus on addressing critical issues such as health, education, economic empowerment, and cultural heritage. They were featured on NBC, where also on the Christian Post in 2023 for their work integrating African American cultural heritage into our church practices. So, what are they doing? Well, they are leading an initiative to revive traditional African American worship practices, such as spiritual and call and response preaching, to enhance contemporary and worship experiences. I said, wow, it's a lot of times. Here's the thing that's stuck with me is National Black Church Initiative, but it's also with the Latinos infused with it, something that was stated. It's our heritage. It's ours. And we're African Americans. It's our heritage. We need to ensure, and I'm not going to harp on something else, but we need to ensure that we are continuing with our practices in the church and in the world.
Is that
So this one,
is that
go
Pastor
ahead.
Franklin Richardson?
Yes, it is.
All right.
And so it's a good. I'm not saying this is not a good thing. It's a good thing. But I'm saying these are things that's reviving our roots. The word is our. The word is applicable. Our. Okay. I know we're all mixed nationalities. Nobody is just 100% something in America. It doesn't work that way. As Tiger Woods say, he was Kablasian. So, every start thinking, hey, what am I? When you go back and you mix it all together, because I could be on the reservation there, and I think I want to be there too sometimes. Okay, that's a whole nother subject. So this is a very good, the National Black Church Initiative. Then the Black Church Food Security Network.
Yes.
This organization connects Black churches with Black farmers to create sustainable food systems in African American communities. They emphasize the role of the church as a community hub that preserves cultural heritage through food and faith. They were featured in the Washington Post here in June for their efforts in reviving agricultural traditions within the Black church. I mean, they are organizing events that highlight the historical and spiritual significance for food and African American culture. And so they are reviving that traditional practice of us just not just only worshiping together, but making sure, as we were talking about earlier, that we can eat as well. So I
Say the
think they're
name of
just a
that
real,
organization again.
the Black Church Food Security Network. And they have a website, which is blackchurchfoodsecurity.net. So,
Listen, my wife just bought us a juicer, and
mhm.
she's juicing me to death. But you know what I found out? I have not bought soda or some or juice. I've been putting
Mhm.
carrots and apples and celery, and it is pretty good. I have
Tastes
never
good.
in my life done
Mm-hmm.
this, and I
Mm-hmm.
am enjoying it. And I'm hoping that it will help me to lose
Mm-hmm.
weight, not taking as much sugar as I
Mm-hmm.
was before. And so we all
Mm-hmm.
need to connect with organizations like this. Say the title one more time.
They are the Black Church Food Security Network. For anyone wanting to connect with them, they can go to their website, the Black Church Food Security.net, and they connect. Now, if you want even a phone number, I can give you one. It's 443 500 4860.
And it
Now,
sounds
this
like it's in
next,
Baltimore.
yeah, 443 500 4860. I think it is. And then this one, I know you know, the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference.
Absolutely.
Um, yes, is named after the influential African American preacher. The conference focused on social justice, civil rights, and theological education of Black pastors. They work to integrate African American history and culture into modern theological training and worship practices. They were featured in Ebony magazine here in April of 2023 for their work in incorporating African American cultural heritage into theological education. So what are they doing? Well, they are offering seminars and workshops that focus on the revival of African American preaching styles and worship traditions and contemporary church settings. So they are doing a lot there. If you want to reach out to them, they have a website. It is sdpconference.info. It's sdpconference.info
And
as
I think
well.
it's in July, right?
Yes, that they
Yeah,
have what they do. And so this is it's a great thing. I like that it's not just about the just the preaching itself. It addresses the whole style of preaching, but also worship traditions, along with a contemporary church setting, which that means the now church setting.
that's
That
right.
means the now person that's coming to church and um, how to relate to them.
Yeah.
Then the next one I have is the African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund. That's a lot to say. The African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund. So, what
Hmm.
do they? Well, they are programmed by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. This fund supports the preservation of historic African American sites, including churches that have been central to the Black worship experience. They emphasize the importance of heritage in maintaining the identity and faith practices of African American communities. And so, how can you connect with them? Well, they have a website, savingplaces.org. That's savingplaces.org. That's SABINGPLACES.org. You can connect with them, even a phone number, 202 588. That means they're right here where we are, 6,000, 202 588 6,000. They were featured in the New York Times in January of this year for their efforts in preserving historical Black churches and their cultural heritage. So, what are they doing? They are funding projects that really restore historic Black churches, ensuring that their rich heritage continues to influence modern worship. So, for those churches that are historical churches, there is money out there. A lot of times we don't know that we can go and we can apply. Well, I'm sharing this with you. This is from the National Trust for Historic Preservation. And so you can go into their site, savingplaces.org, see what funds may be available for where you are, and request those funds. This is another part of not just letting it be there, but putting it into practice and
That's
taking
right.
advantage of things that are there for us. And the last one, the Urban League. The
We
Urban
all know
League,
about the Urban League.
yeah, we all know about the Urban League. Urban League is a historic civil rights organization dedicated to economic empowerment and social justice. They partner with Black churches to promote cultural heritage and social justice in worship and community practices. How can you reach them? Well, they have a short website address, and I like that. It's nul.org. That's nul.org. They have a phone number 212 558 5300. That's 212 558 5300. They were featured in Black Enterprise in March of 2023 for their collaboration with Black churches to integrate social justice themes into worship. So, what are they doing? Well, they're running programs that are encouraging us, meaning the Black church, meaning the African American community, to incorporate our history and our cultural pride into our worship service, which will revive traditional practices and themes, but also help to move us forward, providing us with resilience and leading to us being more active in social justice issues.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need more organizations like these that you have highlighted. And again, if you
Hmm.
want your organization highlighted and you're doing some great things, reach out to us and we will
Yes.
highlight you. Now, if y'all ain't doing nothing, don't, 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 don't reach out. But if you are doing great work, then send us your info and we will vet you to make sure
Hmm.
that we can highlight you.
That we can
Um,
have.
I
Yeah.
think we've had a good time today.
Yeah. This
Uh,
was a good show.
Dealing with some topics that are on our hearts and things that we wrestle with as the
Hmm.
body of Christ and as Black folks in the community. And
Hmm.
we wish that you continue to join us. Again, you can go right there to the Scam Me and you can see this. We're on every Monday at 7, and you can join
Hmm.
us. And we would like to hear your feedback.
Yes.
Tell us what you think. We want you to be interactive with us. And I just,
Hmm.
Miller, you have anything to say before we leave?
Well, yes, you were saying they can connect with us and listen. After the show ends, even though it was live, you can go back if you follow Gilbert and you're his friend on Facebook, or you follow him on Facebook and those different platforms. You will be able to go back probably in about half an hour and be able to review that. And then we'll be on talking it out with Gilbert and Miller on our pod being here in about 15 to 20 minutes, where you can share it, you can watch it. We want to get the word out. We want to
Yes.
talk about it. The thing is, we won't talk about it. We want to talk it out so that we're able to address it with understanding and be able to help promote and move forward change within our African American church, the Black church, as well as the African American community. So, until next time, for me, I just want to, how do people say, encourage people to be blessed and peace out. I'm trying to learn how to do this good. I do it terrible. But okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just trying to learn. The girl told me to look at my fingers first, then do it, but it just never goes right. So until next time, you continue to be next Monday, 7 o'clock. Tune in. We want you to be blessed.